And if you simply find it too difficult to do, which means if you find that it is much more satisfying to be pissed off and therefore depressed than to let in the littlest bit of generosity, ask the Holy Spirit for help. Ask the Father for help to get you over the hump, to illuminate in you some little point of light, of generosity, so that you may take hold of it and let it be in you and find expression. Don't go through your days being unable to be generous. Generous doesn't mean handing out money. Generous means acknowledging the person that's in front of you or the person that's next to you. Be aware they're there. You can walk through a grocery store or a checkout line where people are all around you and you don't have the faintest idea who is next to you, whether they're male or female. Because your blinders are on and you are thinking about what you've got to do after you leave the store, and you're watching the cashier, and maybe you're watching the person ahead of you to see if they're delaying you. But that's about it. To be truly generous means to be experiencing what I'm going to call full open consciousness, not closed down consciousness. Full open, letting it all register with you, letting yourself be present with it all. That's being generous. Being generous is giving the benefit of the doubt. Being generous is noticing when it is sunny and bright and a beautiful spring day with all of the flowers blossoming and all of the leaves coming out on the trees and all of the wonderful subtle shades of green that are there in fresh spring colors. And letting your heart respond. That's being generous. Let's go to the book. Reality and redemption. It's a good choice of words. Reality and redemption are inseparable from each other. When something is redeemed, it's brought back to its original state. Its original perfect state. Your willingness to see reality as it is means that you are being generous enough to be undefended against the experience of what reality is. You are extending an invitation to experience it as it is, in spite of what you have believed it was. Reality and redemption are inseparable. Not just your redemption, but the redemption of everything in your experience. Why is it redeemed? Because it had to go through a redemptive process? No. It is redeemed because you are allowing what it has always been to register with you. continuing. Do you really believe that you can kill the Son of God? More of these stark terms. Do you really believe that you can be an orphan? If you do, then in effect you are snuffing out the Son of God by saying, I'm no Son of God. I'm an orphan. And apparently then the Son of God has been killed because you're so damned determined to be an orphan and to be it better and better and better. Do you really believe that you can do away with or kill the Son of God? The Father has hidden His Son safely within Himself and kept Him far away from your destructive thoughts, your determination to be the best damned orphan there ever was. But you know neither the Father nor the Son with a capital S that you really are because of them. Now let me read that again. The Father has hidden His Son safely within Himself and kept Him far away from your destructive thoughts. But you know neither the Father nor the Son because of them. Because of your determination to see things your way. You've lost your awareness of who your Father is, and you've lost the awareness of what you truly are. And so the Father and the Son are unknown to you because you are going to be the best damned orphan there ever was. You attack the world every day and every hour and every minute. And yet you are surprised that you cannot see it. Well, how do you attack the world? You know, by providing your own definitions of it and believing your definitions and choosing to ignore what it really is. It's that simple. And yet you are surprised that you cannot see the real world. Oh well, in the sweet by and by after you die, you'll see it. Bullshit. You won't see it until you're willing to see it, whether it's now or after you die. You won't see it until you're willing to see it. Now, if you seek love in order to attack it, you will never find it. For if love is sharing, generousness. If love is sharing, extension, how can you find it except through itself? You can't find it until you're being it, in other words. You can't find love until you're embodying love. You can't find love until you are willing to be generous. Offer it, and it will come to you because it is drawn to itself. But offer attack, and it will remain hidden, for it can live only in peace. Meaning it can live only in an unconflicted mind. It can live only in a mind which is not insisting on introducing a secondary plan to stand in its own right along with the Father's plan, side by side, equal but different. That's the introduction of conflict. That's the introduction of polarity. That's the introduction of difference, you see. Two-ness. duality, which is impossible. God's Son, the one that you really are, is as safe as his Father, for the Son, the one that you really are, knows his Father's protection and cannot fear. Why does he know his Father's protection? Because he's not engaging in behaving in a way that causes him to seem to be separate from the Father and therefore unavailable to the perfect order of being that his Father is embodying right where the Son is. His Father's love holds him in perfect peace, and needing nothing, he asks for nothing. Yet he is far from you, whose capital S self he is. In other words, yet he, the one that you truly are, the Christ, is far from you, the orphan that you think you are, whose capital S self, the real you, is. You may be acting like an orphan, and you may be ignoring everything that makes you not an orphan, but you don't ever stop being what you really are. And so what you really are is the self, the real self of the orphan. Right now, in your sense of separateness and lostness, you are absolutely divine. And this divine one that you are is the only self there is. And so it is the self, which we're going to capitalize to identify the real you. It is the self of the you think you are. In other words, you are the Christ, each one of you, behaving as though you are not the Christ and believing your behavior. Yet, again, he, God's Son, is far from you, whose self he is, for you chose to attack him. You chose to dispute him by taking on another character and giving preference to the character you took on. He is far from you, whose self he is, for you chose to attack him, and he disappeared from your sight into his Father. The real you disappeared from your sight into your Father. He, the real you, did not change, but you, the orphan mentality that you're so damned sure of and so proud of, did. The real you did not change, but you did. For a split mind and all its works were not created by the Father and could not live in the knowledge of him. You see, you have to disown your Father. You have to divorce your Father in order to have a sense of yourself that is original and different from your Father, different from your Father's Son. And so, if you're going to maintain this state of orphanhood, the orphan, cannot live in the knowledge of his Father, in the awareness that he has a Father. Because if he lived in that awareness, he would know he wasn't an orphan. They're mutually exclusive. When you made what is not true visible, what is true became invisible. When you became devoted to a lie, truth became invisible. Because if you let any of the truth in, it would undo the lie that you're committed to. And so you cannot let the truth in and still maintain the lie, which is another way of saying, and still maintain the facade. When you made what is not true visible, what is true became invisible. Yet it cannot be invisible in itself. What God has made cannot be rendered null and void. It can't become invisible. It can't actually disappear. For the Holy Spirit sees it with perfect clarity. Your right mind sees it with perfect clarity. Because your right mind is it, held in trust, while you're having this little drama, this little play acting episode, pretending to be an orphan. It is invisible to you as an orphan because you are looking at something else. And what are you looking at? You're looking at your definitions. Or you're looking at the definitions others have provided to you, and you're not questioning them at all. Yet it is no more up to you to decide what is visible and what is invisible than it is up to you to decide what reality is. What can be seen is what the Holy Spirit sees. The definition of reality is God's, not yours. He created it, and He knows what it is. You, who knew, have forgotten. And unless He had given you a way to remember, you would have condemned yourselves to oblivion. You see, you thought you were just having a little fun, got together with one of your brother Christs, and you said, "Hey, what do you say we call this embodiment of living love a tree? And what do you say we say that it's a defenseless relationship with what it's standing on is really a dependent relationship, and that it gets its life not from the love that it is, but from what we'll call soil. And let's say that in order for the soil to be nurturing, it must be watered. And let's say that in order for there to be water, there must be large bodies of water which will evaporate and float in the air over the land, the soil, and fall. Let's make it fall. Let's call it precipitation. And it will water the soil, which will nurture the tree that is dependent upon what's in the soil. What do you say? Shall we do that? Shall we create this definition and believe it? To hell with what the Father said. To hell with what it really is. Let's do this thing. So you did it, and two of you were duped. Two of you joined together in an illusion. And what you didn't realize was that this playing with reality would cause you to become disoriented and separated from your source, because you separated yourself from the real meaning of that which you gave definitions to, and therefore obscured its source, and you lost God. God disappeared. And the living embodiment of love, that what came to be called a tree and the soil was lost to you. You see? You who knew that it was a living, moving embodiment of love have forgotten. And unless he had given you a way to remember, you would have condemned yourselves to oblivion. Why? Because the pride of creation is self-righteousness. The pride of personal, private creation is self-righteousness. And self-righteousness is mesmerizing. And you become addicted to it. And there would be no way out if God had not given you a way to remember. But, continuing, because of your Father's love, you can never forget Him. For no one can forget what God Himself placed in His memory. Now, another way of looking at these words, placed in His memory, is that the Holy Spirit, which is your right mind, can't go anywhere. And if you're not paying any attention to it, it is in effect held in trust while you dally with your orphanhood. And in that sense, who you are is placed in your memory. A better way of putting it is that it's placed in your being, which can't ever actually change. You can deny it, but you cannot lose it. And of course, as long as you're giving preference to the meanings you're giving to everything, you are denying what everything is, and you are denying who you are together with your already present capacity to experience everything as it truly is. A capacity you do not have to work hard to gain. A capacity you do not have to refine yourself into having available to you. Listen. A voice will answer every question you ask, and a vision will correct the perception of everything you see. For what you have made invisible is the only truth, and what you have not heard is the only answer. God would reunite you with yourself, and did not abandon you in your seeming distress. You are waiting only for Him and do not know it. Yet His memory shines in your minds and cannot be obliterated. It is no more past than future, being forever, always. His memory shines in your minds. And like the sunshine and the beautiful day that you can't appreciate because you're in a blue funk, you, in your prestigious sense of yourself as an independent agent, cannot see His memory that shines in you. The truth of you that abides in you shining. You have but to ask for this memory, and you will remember. Yet the memory of God cannot shine in a mind which has made it invisible and wants to keep it so. If you love your depression and you hold on to it, everything is going to look like shit. Everything is going to be colored by your devotion. And yet, reality, perceived truly, is present to be experienced just as surely as the beautiful spring day is available to you to be experienced, but which you're not experiencing because at the moment you're feeling depressed and totally incapable of being generous enough to let yourself have any other experience but the satisfaction of the self-righteousness that says, I am pissed off because I can't have things the way I want them, and therefore I will give nothing. And with all of the power of the Christ that you are, your word stands. And yet all that happens is that you continue to not see what's right in front of your face. That's all. Again, yet the memory of God cannot shine in a mind which has made it invisible and wants to keep it so. For the memory of God can dawn only in a mind that wills to remember, and that has relinquished the insane desire to what? Key words here. Control reality. You, who cannot even control yourselves, should hardly aspire to control the universe. But look upon what you have made of it, and rejoice that it is not so. Son of God, I'm talking to you. These words are talking to you right now. Son of God, be not content with nothing. What is not real cannot be seen and has no value. God could not offer his Son what has no value. Why? Because what he gave you was love, generously extended. God could not offer his Son what has no value, nor could his Son receive it. You were redeemed the instant you thought you had deserted him. You were redeemed the moment you thought you had deserted him. Father, I'd rather see it my own way. I want a bill of divorcement. Signed, sealed, delivered, bill of divorcement final. I'm me in my own right.